Hey nerds, Bevan here, welcome back to my channel. It is just a few days from Halloween, which means I am here to finally deliver some monster movie goodness. Oh, we got a flashy dash here with us today. And so I recently watched this 6-movie collection of Universal classic monsters. In it is Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Invisible Man, the Bride of Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. Now, a very brief history lesson on my relationship with the Universal monsters. I probably first discovered them in the very early 90s with like Alvin and the Chipmunk meets the Wolfman and Scooby-Doo versus Dracula and stuff like that. So from a very young age, I've always been fascinated by Dracula, Frankenstein, werewolves, all kinds of stuff like that. In the late 90s, the Brendan Fraser, The Mummy came out, and that was a huge thing when I was a kid, and they've always just like really stuck with me. However, I never watched these original classic movies until just like a few years ago. And then I would watch like one every October. So like the first one I watched was Dracula because I fucking love vampires. And then I had seen Frankenstein and I loved that one. Last year I actually watched Dracula again for the Terror Table podcast, which I was on. I'll try to put a link to that in the description below. Last year I also watched The Wolfman, and I think 2 years ago I watched The Invisible Man. So out of these 6 movies, I had seen 4 out of the 6. Bride of Frankenstein and The Mummy were the 2 I had watched for the first time this year. Now, I've watched them all in the last, I think, 4 weeks. The end of September is when I started watching them. So they're all pretty fresh in my memory. So I am here to rank 1 through 6, my favorite of these classic Universal monster movies. We will go from least enjoyed to most enjoyed because those top 2, I kind of need to figure out which one I like the most. So hopefully I can stall through 6 to 3 and figure it out before I get to the end. So the least enjoyable for me was The Mummy. Now, maybe it's because I've watched so many cartoons over the last 30 years. Maybe it's because of the aforementioned Brendan Fraser Mummy movie, and I don't know. But my expectations for this movie were not met. Not in terms of the quality, because there's nothing really wrong with the movie. It just didn't give me like that epic mummy chase moment. In every cartoon that has a mummy, the mummy walks after you like this down the hall, and it's like covered in the bandages, and we never got that. And in fact, there was like almost no fucking mummy in this movie at all. In the first like 10 minutes, the mummy comes back to life and just acts as a regular human being trying to bring back other Egyptians to life. So that's why for me it is the least enjoyable out of these 6. A couple weeks ago, I did a video of my favorite monster movies. Movie monsters. And I had Dracula in my top 5. Dracula is also in my top 5 of these movies. However, he comes in at number 5 because the Dracula movie with Bela Lugosi is very, very dull. I have seen hundreds of vampire TV shows, books, movies, video games, comic books. Like, I go through phases where I am obsessed with vampires and I just take in all the vampire content that I can. And Dracula is not one I enjoy watching. Everything cool that happens in Dracula happens off screen. You never see him like tear into his victims. Which I kind of understand because it was 1931 and I get that. However, when I think of Dracula, and in the book Dracula, which I have read multiple times, he's such like a devious badass, and you really just don't get that in the story of the movie. Bela Lugosi is fantastic. His presence alone really lifts this movie up. If it was, an inferior actor playing the character, this movie would be way worse than it is, obviously. So 6 and 5 were movies I did not enjoy and have, few redeeming qualities to them. The rest I actually really enjoy. Coming in at number 4 is Frankenstein. Now, I love the Frankenstein book. I love the Frankenstein story. I love the Frankenstein monster. The Frankenstein movie, though, while it is very good, very true to the original story. While it is true to all of that, it has a sequel on this list, which I enjoy way more. And I think that is actually what drops this movie down to number 4 on this list for me, because that same character and that same story was done better in the next movie, which is on the list. Number 3 out of these movies is The Wolfman. The reason I like this movie is because, well, for one, Lon Chaney he's fantastic. The writing for his character comes off a little creepy sometimes, but he's a pretty charming guy, so you can like almost get away with like his creep factor level in it. I love the lore of the werewolf in this movie. Bela Lugosi's back in it as well, playing a character called Bela. So like I don't know where they got that name from. For the technology at the time, they handle the transformation from man to wolf really well. Is it like kind of corny compared to what you can do with 2021 technology? Yeah, probably, but for 1932 or 1933, whenever this movie came out, it's really well done. And like this movie would have been really cool back in the 30s. So now we come to the top 2 of this list. And this is where it gets really difficult for me. And I think Invisible Man is my number 2 choice. Now, Invisible Man probably has the most action out of all 6 of these movies. It's not like guns and stuff, but like he just gets into a lot. He's taking down police officers, there's chases, there's fight scenes. Like this has a lot of action for this era, this kind of movie that we're talking about here. However, and it stays really true to the book. The Invisible Man book is fantastic. It's like a 3-hour read. You can almost do it in one sitting. And because of that short story, the movie is able to use like almost every aspect of it. However, all that praise aside, there is one character in this movie that like almost ruins it completely. She's the barmaid of the hotel that he stays at in the beginning of the movie, and her screams are just so over the top and unenjoyable and really take me out of it for those scenes. However, she's only in like I think the first half of the movie, so the rest is just like smooth sailing and it's good from there. However, her presence in that first half of the movie bumps this movie from what could be number 1, but bumps it down to number 2. And what a way to bookend this list. Number six and number 1 are both movies I saw for the first time this year. Number 1, of course, being The Bride of Frankenstein. As I said before, the Frankenstein movie is really good. It has a lot of stuff going for it. However, this movie just takes those things, takes that character, takes that setting, takes that story, and just like cranks it up. And that's why it is such a better movie, because it takes those good original ideas from the first movie, original in whatever sense because it took it from a book, but takes those ideas from that first movie and just like cranks it up to a 10. They take the science, they crank it up. They take the action, they crank it up. They take the drama and they crank it up. So everything in this movie, it's just like the first Frankenstein on steroids, basically. And that's pretty much all I can really say about it. Is like a lot of these movies, even if you watch them for the first time now, still really hold up because they have such classic ideas behind them, such classic stories that there's a reason they're still popular. Is because they are timeless. These movies are like 90 years old, some of them 80 years old, and they still hold up today, even in your first time viewing them. And don't even get me started on that poster art. Look at those. Those are beautiful. I wish I had a couple on my wall, actually. If I was going to pick, I'd probably want The Invisible Man and Dracula would be the 2 that I would want on my wall. That is all I got for you guys today. Hit me up in the comments below and let me know what you think of my list. Are you into the Universal monsters at all? Do you just kind of like know of them from pop culture? Because like I said, these movies are timeless, therefore these characters are timeless. Everyone knows who Dracula is. Everyone knows Frankenstein. Everyone knows what a werewolf is. Everyone knows what a mummy is. If you like this video, hit that like button. And if you really like this video, hit that subscribe button because I will be putting out more videos on a more frequent basis, hopefully. You can follow me on Instagram at Bevan Boychuk. And until next time, folks, I'll see you next time, folks.